that's really cool that you're getting that dream, and like you've only put like a few years into it. Like, have you talked to other comedians? Have they been kind of resentful towards it, or like giving you shit like you don't deserve it, or like, or has everyone been pretty cool?
Some are, some aren't. Like
Okay.
I've got a really good group of comics that like we kind of like came up around the same time, and like part of like the Orlando comedy scene, which is like one of the I would say the Orlando comedy scene is maybe one of the best comedy scenes in the country.
Okay.
Like overlooked because like obviously there are scenes that are a lot bigger, but there's so many funny people coming out of Orlando right now. It's ridiculous. And a lot of us, you know, we've all been to those mics together. We've kind of been in the trenches together. So those kind of guys respect a lot more. Then you run into guys like there was a host we got during that week in Florida with Jay, who was not happy about it. Like, you know, because when he found out that I had only been doing it 2 years, and he was like, I've been doing it 23 years. Like, and he was pretty upset about it. But then it was also like you know, you'd see him on stage and like the reaction he was getting from the crowds and everything, and then I'd go on stage and do my material, and they're like, can you not tell there's a measurable difference?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I get you've been doing it for 23 years, but how much of that time were you taking it serious?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think it goes back to like what you were saying, like you spent like all that time like really putting that work in, where a lot of comedians, they probably don't. They've been like coasting on it and stuff. Like,
yeah,
really
it sounds like you have a deeper understanding of the structures and kind of fundamentals behind everything. That probably really helps.
Well, not just that, but like I'm constantly trying to push myself to like get better. Like I'll do like a joke, and then the next show I'll be like, ooh, I could maybe add this into this joke, or maybe let me try and deliver it in a different like tone of voice. Like maybe let me like drop my voice a little bit when I say this piece, or you know, I'll watch somebody else's stand up and like, oh, like I noticed they do this like when they get to like a punchline, maybe like let me try and figure out a way I can incorporate something like that into my act. And I'm just constantly trying to get better and improve, because one, I know it's kind of like I know like I got a late start. You know what I mean? Like looking back, like you guys were asking earlier, like what if I had been diagnosed at an early age? I mean, if I had been diagnosed at an earlier age, I'd have been doing this in my 20s, you know?
Yeah.
So in my mind, ever since I started and ever since I realized like, hey, this is a thing you're really good at, and you could turn into like a real career. I took that serious, and I put the effort in like it was a career I was trying to pursue. You know what I mean?
So what was the turning point when you realized you could take it as a career? Like, was it like you start doing mics more often, you're getting all those laughs, or did someone just tell you like, hey, you're really funny?
So I had gone to like 3 open mics with like that mini workshop before I found that other workshop, right, by that guy run by Bob Smith. Mm-hmm. And he also had like shows and stuff like that, you know. So I went to his workshops. I got to do 5 minutes at like one of his shows, and then he gave me a 10-minute spot at another show. And so I did that 10-minute spot, and it went really well, and it came off stage, and he's like, hey man, like that was really good stuff. Blah, blah. He's like, but I know that's all the material you have, so I can't bring you back here for a couple of weeks until you get new material. And I took that as a challenge. I was like, okay, that was on a Thursday. I showed up that Sunday to workshop with 5 new minutes of material.
Oh wow.
You know, because I was like, there's no way I'm gonna wait I'm gonna wait several weeks to go back on that show. I'm gonna get like a new 10 minutes to do that show as quickly as I can. And maybe like 2 months after that, I got to do like a 20-minute spot in front of like a bigger comedian from Gainesville, Florida. He's a guy named Chris Cope. He's been on Conan, and he's been on like Netflix's Cooking on High. And so he's one of the 2 biggest comedians to ever come from Florida, or from Gainesville anyway. And so I got to do like a 20-minute feature spot in front of him. And after that show, Bob pulled me aside, and he's like, hey, the growth I've seen out of you has been incredible. And if you stick to this, you could do this for a living. And as soon as I heard that, that was like the permission slip I needed to really go after it.
Okay.
You know, as soon as I got that external like validation of like, you could do this for a living if you wanted to. And I was like, well, guess what? I fucking want to. So
Are you feeling like you always need to prove yourself? Because that seems like one of the motifs you've been like talking about, like, oh, I gotta like get better, I gotta do this, I got like, are you always like, you feel like you absolutely have to always get better and you have to be the best, and like, is that the competition or just like your mindset?
I don't know. It's not competition really. It's more of like, to me, it's about respecting the art form. Like, to me, anything that you want to do, like anything you have like anything you love to do, you should want to do well. You know what I mean? So like for me, like I love comedy. So it, like, to me, it would be disrespectful to comedy if I didn't try and become the best at it as I could be. You know, it would be like imagine it, like think of like an athlete, like they're athletic people all the time who are born with all of the natural talent in the world, but then they don't apply themselves to developing that talent. And so like, you know, they don't become the Michael Jordan or the Kobe Bryant. You know, I'd rather put that effort in and see how far up this ladder I can go.
I think that point of view is awesome. I respect the hell out of that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
All right. What's some of your goals then? Like, where do you see this ending? Are you looking for that comedy special like on Netflix? Like, what would be that, like that spot where you're like, all right, this is finally making it? Like, I know opening for Muse has to be insane, but like, what's your ultimate like goal at this point besides the show with Kevin Smith?
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think honestly, like my ultimate goal is I'd love to have like a special. You know, Netflix is like the big one, but you know, I just love to have a special out there somewhere. Like right now, my goal is I'm working on like a new set of material about living in the van, and I want to get that to be a big enough chunk of material that I can like put out like a 10 or 15-minute thing about like living in the van. And then I want to like, I'm working on like my main like feature act with Jay, but then I'm also working on like a headliner act with that, some of that same material, just stretching some of that material out into like a 45 minutes to an hour. And then I've got other material set aside that doesn't really fit with the structure of my act I'm working on now. And I want to take that material, develop it into its own like 20 to 25-minute special, maybe a half-hour special, and see if I can't, you know, shop that around a little bit, see if I can't put that out. And worst case scenario, put it out myself like on YouTube or something, just to try to get more eyeballs to come see like the main act, you know. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now, is I just want to develop enough stuff that I can put more stuff out and just keep building up the fan base. But eventually I'd love to have a special on Netflix and like, you know, big picture down the line stuff. Like, I mean, I love the van. I'm eventually going to upgrade to like a bigger, better van and stuff like that. But I mean, long term,
tour bus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Long term is tour bus. Long term is tour bus, and like planning like my own like route of shows. So I'm literally like circling the US, you know, every year, working on material, like stopping working on material for like 6 months, and then 18 months after I started the first one, I'm starting my second one.
Yeah, you got to get a big like Captain Autism painted on the side too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'd really love to do stuff like that. I'd also really like after I got diagnosed and I started like doing more research about it, like there aren't a lot of resources for autistic adults. Like, and there's so like you can read so many horror stories. Like these are things I learned from people that came to talk to me after the shows in Florida. Like there's so many horror stories out there of like how like autistic people's quality of life declines like when their parents pass away, because most autistic people rely on their families for their whole lives. So like big picture down the line stuff, I'd love to like be able to open my own like autism support village, where, you know, like almost like an assisted living facility for people on the spectrum, where they can come and like there are workshops for all of these different kinds of activities, so everyone can find the thing that they're, you know, that they're passionate about, and find a way to turn those things into like, you know, a livable, sustainable career. So that's like way big picture stuff. That's like, you know, that's not even comedy related. That's like, you know, when you dream about what you would do if you win the lottery type of stuff.
Yeah.
And like,
Oh,
it's very respectable, and that's what I really like about you. Like, you have all these big dreams, but like you're still really real about it as well. Like, you're not like, oh, I'm getting the mansion, I'm gonna get like the supermodel wife, I'm gonna get like crazy amount of cars. No, I want to help people. I want people to be able to express themselves and grow themselves like how I did myself. Like, that's really
also
awesome.
the fact that you're really motivated by just kind of exploring and going deep into the art form. That's probably a huge boon as well. So
yeah, that's literally like that same guy Bob. He's literally like my mentor. I talk to him pretty much every day still, and we talk about that all the time. Like, if when people start doing comedy, like he likes to ask people like, what like got you into comedy? Like, what's the reason why you want to do comedy? And people will say money, and people will say like, you know, cars, or, you know, women, or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's the people that are doing it because they're getting something personal out of it, or they're giving something personal with it. Those are the ones that stick around. And like, for me, it's both. Like, being on stage and being able to like tell jokes is like, it's the most like connection I'm able to establish with people ever. And that's something I don't get in my normal life. Like, so that's something I need. That's a human interaction I require to function at a high level. So I'm getting something out of comedy. But then also, like, just the fact that I'm able to express myself and people, and like create laughter from that expression. It's like, there's a sense of purpose that comes with it that I've not found in anything else I've tried in life. And that's why I'm still doing it. You know, like, I lost all my other hobbies. You know, I would do something for like a year, maybe a year and a half, and then I was done with it. Like, this is the longest I've ever stuck with something, and it's because I love everything about it. So this is what my life is now.
Come join the conversation, the show that you've been wanting. Keep it real with no filter. Weekly we share discussions. WWSD, interviewing creative guests, talking the creative process and sharing all the influences from TV and film. Emmy nominated and winning, yeah, they coming through. Actors and comedians too, directors and writers, way more than a few. Masters of their craft, yes. Tune in, you gotta see. This the podcast that you need. WWSD.